Are we ready to roll?
We are ready to roll.
Welcome, guys, to another episode.
All right, you guys ready to get this thing going?
On the road, baby.
Here we go. What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the Last Flight Show. I'm your host, Jake Klein. Joining me today is Matt Hicks down here on the end, owner of Last Flight Calls.
Yo.
And co-host of the Last Flight Show.
Yep.
And joining us is Eric Hicks. This is episode 14, I believe. On the last episode, we had Eric on here, and he does a lot of really cool duck hunting. We call him the world traveling duck hunter. He's got some awesome stories. As you can see behind us, he brought some more mounts. On episode 13, he brought his king eider and Pacific eiders. We talked about that. So if you want to know about that hunt in Alaska, then go check out episode 13. On this episode, though, he's brought some new ducks, and we're going to have some new stories. But first and foremost, how you doing, Eric?
Doing good.
Doing good.
We're ready for this.
Got your lunch in, and we're all good to go.
That's a story in itself. But yeah, we got it. We're good to go now.
There's been a lot of stories this week.
A lot of stories.
We got the backdrop.
Oh, yeah.
A few stories this week. Got a new shelf here. Look at that.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Looks good.
Built by yours truly.
We can tell.
Yeah. So I was sending pictures to Jake as I'm doing this shelf. And I sent him a picture of it. You know, it's built but unstained.
Uh-huh.
The next picture is stained. And then the next picture is a giant hole right there.
It like fell over, and the wind pushed it over, and the next picture I get is like
so this thing's on wheels, so I wheeled it out the big door to stain this thing. And a gust of wind came in, it literally fell on my truck.
So yeah.
Scratched my truck.
It looks really crooked.
It's just the camera. It does look crooked, don't it?
I don't know.
That's why I said we could tell. It's tilted.
It might be tilted a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the shelf. So we got some cool stuff up there. Got the Otis. Got the old license plate from our old goose trailer.
Oh yeah.
Some Apex up there. Some old calls here. Some old runs that, I mean, these calls are from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Cover shot of the wood duck. Got some easy deeks, decoy rigs, best on the market. And then got the headlamp over there. But then, yeah, all of Eric's ducks. Got the two whistling ducks, Mexican mallard, and Harlequin, and the cinnamon teal. So,
yeah. Cool.
yeah, boy.
I think I might put a picture of that you sent me of this thing falling over. All you see is like the corner, like the corner of his bed, like sticking through everything.
Yeah, this thing's on wheels. Like, we're in the middle of the giant
shop. Yep.
I mean, probably, I don't know what it is, 5,000 square foot in this part here.
Yeah.
And we're just right in the middle with a rolling backdrop.
I mean, we've talked about it before, but this whole thing is a production.
It is. I mean, it is. You got the lights.
What you guys see right now is like if you were to step back, it's just like...
Like, you ever go to a...
tornado.
What?
You know what I mean? Like, that's what it looks like if you step back. It looks like, I mean, we have cords and wires everywhere.
Like, you ever go to a college football game and they're like, if you go like ahead of time and they're like doing like the pregame stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just sitting at a table with and just out in the open, but the lights and everything. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what this is. You know what I mean? Kind of that same idea and feel.
Yeah.
Just no teleprompter.
We're not getting paid that much money to do this.
Yeah, and no money.
Oh.
We gotta find some new sponsors.
All right, so Eric, in a nutshell, obviously we'll go into detail in the episode, but in a nutshell, kind of go over what the plan is for today. I know that normally I will make the script for the show. We try to be as flexible as possible with the show. Like, we don't want to have like a script to where we just go for it, line by line. We just kind of want to let it flow and you just fail and just
ghost open
kind of go with the flow. But Eric, the last two episodes, has taken it upon himself, which I appreciate very much because it's a lot of information, has gone through and made a script for us. So pretty much Eric's really going to be the head of the podcast.
Wow, that's
today.
scary.
So congratulations on that. But yeah, in a nutshell, let us know, what we're going to be covering today.
I mean, we could recap what we did last week. But
last week.
But I'm going to touch on Valdez a little bit more, Valdez, Alaska, because that's favorite hunt. There's a couple stories we never got to. And then we'll jump back to Mexico where we left off. We left off in Mazatlan, Mexico. And we're going to go on south about 8 hours to, it's called Obregon, Mexico, a different duck hunt down there. And then if we have time, we'll head to the Florida Everglades.
The Everglades.
Very cool.
All right. Well, Matt.
Yeah.
Do your thing, bud. Verse of the week.
Verse of the week, Psalm 23:4. And that reads, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and staff, they comfort me. And then, just like we do, that's going to be on the call this week. So starting Monday, this will go out. I need to do it Sunday night, but but I always forget my laptop here at the shop. But anyways, this call is going to go out Monday morning, and it's a pretty cool one. It's a fear. It's kind of funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it is kind of it's kind of funny.
It's the Fear Goose call that we're gonna it's gonna be on. But anyways, we're gonna break this down into 3 parts as usual. And the first part kind of just signifies life's hard moments. No matter what, you're gonna have that.
Yep.
So the first part of the verse, even though I walk through the darkest valley, basically life isn't always easy. And we'll get into a dark valley, go through tough times, grief, fear, confusion, pain, whatever it might be that you're dealing with. In the darkest valley represents those moments when we feel those things or feel alone or whatever it may be that you're having a hard time with. And then the point number 2 is God is with you. And so the second part of that verse is I will fear no evil, for you are with me, which says a lot.
Right.
Basically, even in these moments of the darkest valley that you might be in, whatever that is for you, God's with you. He doesn't leave you. He's there as long as you reach for it.
Right. Yep.
And he'll bring you peace and courage and whatever you're needing. You're not truly alone.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like last week we talked about, he's going to let you catch up, but you have to continue to chase.
You got to chase.
Yep.
So, and then the last point number 3, your rod and your staff, they comfort me, kind of signifies how God guides us and protects us. Basically, like if, we can feel comforted even during the hard times, when you truly, seek after God and, kind of like walk that out, I guess. If you spend time there praying or in the Word or whatever, it kind of just happens. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like like you just start seeing more, and you'll see how He's guiding you and is protecting you and keeping those negative thoughts out of your mind.
Right. Yep.
And I struggle with that a lot. Everybody does. You just you get a negative thought and it just starts spiraling.
Right. Yep.
And it can lead into just all these assumptions and things that are just out of this world that aren't even real. It's just lies.
Yep.
But as long as we pray and seek, He'll be there to comfort you, guide you, protect you, and all those things. So.
Yeah, and even if you're alone, there's no battle that you're fighting alone. If you've got issues and situations and you've got fears, then just to bring that to Him and let Him fight that battle for you, and just keep an open eye, and just keep on keeping on. You know what I mean?
But Bible study again was this morning.
Yep.
Went 3 hours this time.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. Well, it was a good one. It really was.
It's hard to cut it off when it's rolling.
Right. And I mean, like too, it's something that we need, it's like we talked about, it's there's thoughts that, we necessarily may not think about otherwise, without having something like that, and like the sprinkles on the ice cream, nobody's really going to know that's watching or listening is going to know what we're talking about. But it's just kind of one of them things to where if one of the gentlemen that was here, him and his family and his kids were praying before dinner, and they prayed for ice cream,
right.
And it was sprinkles, and sometimes he doesn't grant the prayers that we necessarily pray for, but in a way he does it what's most important, and
right.
just,
and most time it's not going to be your way,
right? Yeah,
it's going to be his way.
Correct.
Just because it didn't get answered your way doesn't mean it didn't get answered.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. In a roundabout way, and in a different situation. In a bigger situation. We sometimes tend to think small picture, and we pray on small picture, and he answers our prayers in a much bigger picture that we didn't think that we needed, but he did. So,
which one of the points
cool.
was writing down what you pray about.
Yep.
Because then you can go back in time and be like, he did answer this prayer. It just wasn't what I was expecting or looking for, but he actually did in this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we miss it because it wasn't our way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you can go back if you write down your prayers, what you talked about today and you can go back and look and be like, oh yeah. These things are getting answered. It's just not the way that we thought it was, or our way, or it's the way he wants it. So
for sure.
But anyways,
all right, fellas, do we have anything else before we get this show rolling? Eric, you got anything you want to leave off with before we head into break?
I'm good.
He's ready to talk ducks, ready to talk Alaska, ready to talk stories. So, all right, guys. We will be right back, and we're going to take a quick break, get something to drink, and we'll see you in just a minute.
Welcome to the Last Flight Show, brought to you by Last Flight Calls and Gear. This episode starts now.
Oh, man.
and we're back.
We are back. Episode number 14 with the world traveling duck hunter, Eric Hicks.
I do want to say, before this gets kicked off, while you're still listening, because, you know what I mean, go follow The Last Flight Show on Instagram and Facebook. They've got their own separate pages now.
We didn't talk about that in the intro.
No, we didn't. But they got their own separate pages now. Honestly, there's just so much content. We just have so much content there to put out that it's taken away from the main page, just flooding it, I guess.
Yeah.
And but we're keeping the show pages more focused on the podcast and everything we're doing and talking about. So go like, follow, share.
Yeah.
Invite your friends. On Facebook, you can go invite all your friends. Go do that. It helps us a lot.
Yeah. And we're going to do a lot of cool stuff with it. It's obviously a faith-based podcast. We are very avid outdoorsmen. We like to hunt, fish, and a lot of times you can relate some of that stuff to some of the stuff that's said in the Bible and stuff like that. And so that's what we kind of want to bring to the table is, those of you or those of us that, kind of need that push every once in a while. And I know that there's a lot of times to where, I've been in the woods and I've had my moments, and to have something like this to be able to share, big scale is the goal, while talking about what we enjoy doing, and that's waterfowl hunting, turkey hunting, deer hunting, things like that. So
then it's really getting a lot of positive feedback.
It really is.
Like the amount of messages. I mean, I was messaging like 8 or 10 guys just last night.
Yeah.
Different people.
Yeah.
In different parts of the country that, have tell me their story because of this podcast.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
It's just cool to actually see and know that you are making a difference.
It gives people the opportunity to open up, and maybe, cross that line and that shove that they otherwise wouldn't have, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the boldness we display here, makes, to me, it makes the, like, what am I doing?
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And it makes it easier for them to just be like, all right, yeah, I'm going to go to church more.
Right, yep.
Spend more time in my Bible.
For
or
sure.
share it with my kids or whatever it may be for you.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Yep. So make sure you go follow us on Instagram, The Last Flight Show, and then like and follow us on Facebook. All of our podcasts and stuff like that will still be through Last Flight Calls and Gear YouTube channel. So we're still going to keep all of that together. But like Matt said, that the plans that we have for this is just going to be. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be, constant. We have the verse of the day. We're going to do that constantly, and then the reels, and then some behind the scene stuff, and it's going to be a really cool deal, and it's going to get really big. So we wanted to make sure that it had its own space, in it, but obviously having the foundation of what the company was built on, and letting it have its own space as well. So. Yeah. All right, moving on. Eric Hicks.
Yes, sir.
Oh, there he is.
So
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. For a second, I didn't know if your mic worked.
No.
All right.
I'm just nervous.
Nervous. You get stage fright?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So last week, episode 13, talk about king eiders, Pacific eiders, and we talked about a teal, didn't we?
Yeah, in Mexico.
We barely hit. Yeah, we hit on just lightly.
But just go. This is part 2. So if you missed part 1, go listen or watch part 1.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, we're gonna pick up where we left off.
Yeah. Part 1 was king eiders. I mean, that was just like I said, high risk, high reward hunt. Brutal weather. And then we went to Adak Island, which is 1,200 miles out on the Aleutian Island chain, and that's just its own set of variables. The wind out there gets pretty brutal, but it's got the old Army or the naval base. Yep, talked about that. One thing we didn't touch on, we talked about the Pacific eiders, is there's so many distinct species out there to shoot. It's like a collector's dream. There's the tufted ducks, which they kind of look like a bluebill with a little
curlicue on top of their head.
Yeah,
curlicue.
Yeah, just kind of a tuft, sticking up. They've never harvested one, but they've seen shmews like coming out of Russia.
Schnews.
Shmew.
What is that?
It's white and black. Kind of.
Really?
So it's kind of got like a pointy bill, like a woodpecker or like a merganser.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. They're white and black.
Never heard of that.
Eurasian teal, which we had here last year. Eurasian green-winged teal. And then what else? No, Eurasian widgeon. Those are coming out of Russia and stuff. So there's a lot of really cool birds that come down to that little island and overwinter.
I didn't realize there were so many species of duck.
Oh,
I don't even know what
you
there
have
is.
your species, and then you have your subspecies. It's almost like
there's
hundreds.
Yeah, there's over like 120 some 3. I don't remember different huntable species in the world. It's crazy.
Then the hybrids.
The hybrids.
Yeah. The farm goose.
The farm ducks.
Hey, I don't care.
And then we went to Valdez. Talked about that.
Yep.
And that's still like my most favorite hunt of all time. And we didn't have it last year, but one of the bread and butter ducks in Valdez is the Harlequin. And that's definitely, I think that's my favorite duck out there to hunt and shoot and they're gorgeous.
Interesting colors.
Yeah, it's got the bronze. You can't really see it, but if you was to turn it, the underneath of that is bronze, just gorgeous.
Gotta see a bit of it. Right.
Yeah.
There.
Yep.
I think Harlequin isn't. I think that stands for clown duck. Clown. Yeah, Harlequin is clown. So clown ducks. Yeah, I think that's my favorite duck. Yep. And then also today on display we have the Mexican mallard. So we'll go into that a little bit later. It's its own distinct species now. It used to be classified as a subspecies of a mallard, but it's its own now.
And if you just looked at it, you would think it's just a hen mallard.
It's more like a mottled duck or a black duck. But yes, it does look like a hen mallard, except it's got the drake mallard bill.
Yeah.
So that's a drake there hanging on that wall. And then we got the black-bellied tree duck, and then the Fulvous whistling tree duck, which I would say the Fulvous is the hardest to obtain in the lower 48 by far. It's just there's very few spots where they live, and they're really hard to get to and access.
I remember, was it last year or the year before, where there was a big thing where the black-bellies were up north, and we had taken a trip to photograph them. They were
Me and you?
They were at the refuge.
When I got those pictures?
Yes.
Well, that was like 5 years ago.
Was it really?
Are you kidding me? That was when I first started.
Nah.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem that long, but I bet it was.
Are you
I got
sure?
a picture. You want me to go get it?
No.
Yeah, I'm going to get it.
Go get it.
All right, I'll go get it.
Now's our chance. Talk bad about him and
Yep.
stuff.
See you later.
So, yeah. Here we go. This is going to take a while, too. So, yeah.
These guys will pull it from the archives.
Pull it in the archives.
He's got
So the-
25,000 pictures in his Lightroom right now.
That's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the black-bellies, they're becoming pretty... I mean, they're really increasing their range. They're getting
Yeah.
a lot farther north, farther... Like you said, we saw them in Ohio, so...
Well,
I don't know if they bred here or not.
I don't, but I hadn't ever heard of them, which obviously I haven't heard of a lot of the ducks that you're bringing up. And actually, I haven't heard of most of the ducks you brought up, but
Right.
there was a big deal when they were up north. And
Oh, I remember it,
I'm
yeah.
like, it was all over social media, like blown up. And I'm like, what is the big deal?
Like, they should not be here.
And then Matt told me, he's like, they're a Florida duck. Like they're yeah.
Yeah, they're in the
there it is.
South.
And that didn't take as long as I thought.
Get my
Oh, boy.
headphones on here.
But yeah, it was really cool. I mean, to see these birds here.
I wrote on the back. Yeah, it was May of 2021.
Wow.
Really?
So at the time, yeah, there's 9 of them. But at the time, this was the largest group ever recorded in Ohio
Yep.
of black-bellied whistlers.
There they are.
And I think it still is true. Like, one group. I think it's still the largest group.
I was going to say, I haven't seen anything pop up again about.
I just see one here and there.
Yeah.
That's it. But this was a whole flock.
Yeah, because like I said, it was a really big deal. Like it was all over Facebook.
And I got a few pictures there. That's pretty cool. But yeah,
We can probably plug these into the video too. If you have the, I'm sure you have the.
dude, I don't honestly know. But yeah,
If we have them, then I'll plug
signed
them in.
and dated. Who wants them?
For sale. You ain't selling them things.
Let's get more made.
Ain't no way.
Yeah, boy.
We got to find the picture first.
That's true. But anyways, yeah.
Very cool. So
back in Valdez, yeah.
anyway,
Start back, yeah.
Yemen.
sorry to interrupt.
Kind of start where we left off last week, but
Yeah.
I guess that was Mexico technically. But let's jump back to Valdez real quick on the Harlequins. And like I said, there's so many cool stories there, and Valdez is such a unique place. But so Valdez itself, the town of Valdez, I'm not going to say it's the snowiest place in North America, but it's one of the top 4 or 5, I would say. And they get 300. I pulled that right off the Alaska website. 330 inches a year is their average snowfall in town.
Yep. No thanks.
So that's 27 feet.
I'm out.
And then you go outside of town. You don't have to go real far. And then you start going up into the mountain range, and you'll hit Thompson Pass, which is a cool adventure in itself. They get 58 feet of snow a year annually up in Thompson Pass. And they have to keep the pass and the road open. There's like railroad gates at the end of each side. And they never want to see those gates down. The road crew is supposed to just keep it open because it's the only road in and out of town, and all the oil going out of Valdez is going out through the pass. So they got to keep that open.
Of cliffs of snow.
Is it? Not a lot of that because it's like a lot of it. There's places to blow it, like off the side of the mountain.
Oh, I
Oh,
see.
yeah.
So they got just these massive. In fact, there's a barracks out there where guys, I think they work like 14 days on, 14 days off in the winter, and their job is just to keep it open.
What is the average length of winter there? Like when we think of winter
it's all
here,
over
we
the-
think of
yeah.
like late November into late February-ish was when we get most of our snow, I would say.
It depends where you're at in Alaska, but Valdez, I mean, we've been up there mid-November. That's probably the earliest I've been there, and there's snow on the ground then, but not tremendous amount.
lot.
But I mean, it's covered.
Yeah.
It's covered, and that probably doesn't go away. I don't even know until. I mean, we've been up there in the summer fishing before, and went through the pass like it was 4th of July. We was up there.
I'm gonna
and
look
there
this up.
And there was still snow up in the pass in the 4th of July.
I mean, it could probably be like 60 degrees for a month, and it's still melting.
Yeah, think how much
You know
snow
what I
that
mean?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just going to melt in a few
Yeah.
days. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I think you said also that they can get up to 900 inches, which is like 75 feet.
It's like the record. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it said 90 inches
It's
in a
insane.
24-hour period.
Yeah, it's
90
insane.
inches in 24 hours is the record. I know Dad and I hunted one day, and we shoveled the dock off just to get onto the boat. When we got back, there was 2 foot of snow on the dock, and that was like a 6-hour hunt.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was one of the best hunts we ever had too. But in fact, we was out. It was that same trip.
Yeah.
This is the Wolverine story.
Oh yeah.
So we.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah,
Wolverine.
he told me this. Yeah.
So yeah, this is a cool story. So we're coming back in from hunting, and the guide, he said, "Hey, back in this cove, I got some traps set. You guys want to stop and check these traps out?" We're like, "That'd be really cool." So we pull up on the beach, and he just beaches the boat. It's not a rocky cliff; it's like a pebble beach. And we jump off the front of the boat, and we take off up into the brush. And the first trap he had set, I think it was like a martin set or something. It had a log like up in a V, and the animal was supposed to go up and go into a bait bucket, and trap got him by the head. A coyote had walked up that log somehow and got its head through the V of that, and he's in this like big trap up there. Coyote. And I don't even know how coyotes live in that much
Live up
snow,
there?
in the snow like that. But it's crazy. So we caught a
Oh,
coyote.
yeah. That is good.
So then we go over to another set, and it's this beautiful Wolverine, just a stud Wolverine.
You hear that?
This is a mower or something going on out
Helicopter
there.
or something, yeah. So we caught a beautiful Wolverine, just all pelted out.
Yeah.
And I think he said at the time those were going for almost $1,000, like
Really?
for a beautiful, just because it has how much blonde it has on it. So we was all excited. So then we're coming out of the woods. We got our coyote and our Wolverine. We're going to take a picture with all our ducks with all this stuff. Jake, we get out of the woods, and the boat that's supposed to be right there is about 100, 150 yards out in the water, floating away.
Oh no.
Yeah. So there we are, the Three Stooges, standing there, looking at our boat floating away, going, now what are we going to do? Because you'll go out and hunt for days out there and never see another boat. I mean, there's nobody else out there in the winter.
And I'm sure, like, you can't just pick up a cell phone and be like,
Right. So the radios are in the boat. I had a
that's
cell
a good place
and
for
we had cell phones, but there's no signal. So we're just
Oh,
standing there,
no.
and you're a long, long, long way from home. It's like, I don't even know if you could walk there from where we were at on the shorelines or not, or how long it would take you. There's icebergs floating in the water. I don't know how far you can swim in that kind of water. So we're just kind of standing there, and it's like, what are we going to do? And the guy's like, I might have to swim. I don't know. And so we're talking about how far you can swim in this cold water and
right.
stuff. And at that time, we hear a boat motor, like off in the distance. And we're like, oh. And you don't see boats out there, like I said, very often. And it's getting closer and closer and closer. And then we seen it going by. Well, he sees our boat floating out
Oh.
there. He slows down and turns, and he comes in, and he gets up to the boat. And, of course, we're...
Right, yeah.
And he comes up to the...
He's probably thinking, what a bunch of goons.
Yeah. And it was one of our guide's best buddies. And he goes, looks like you boys are in a predicament, So he was able to take us back to the boat, and we got on. But I don't know what would have happened that day if he wouldn't have came around the corner. And he was actually out checking a trap line himself. So that's why he happened to be out there at that exact moment. But yeah, I mean, stuff out there can just happen in a flash. I mean, I've seen a bunch of stuff, just crazy odd things, and it's like you got to be prepared out there.
Lost a boat motor, the lower.
Yeah, this last year he was coming in to pick us up, and I've seen, you see blades go off the props, hitting rocks and all kind of stuff, and I've seen him have to change props. But this time he came up and he had hit a rock out there, and when I say he lost the lower unit, I mean it sank to the bottom of the ocean, like a $15,000 lower unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there we are. So yeah, you got to be prepared. So yeah, a lot of fun stories from that place. So let's head south.
Heading south.
It's hot outside, so we might as well go up to
Mexico.
Oregon.
I can't find anything on like the average winter length there.
Just type that into Google.
I did.
No, it's the
looked at, like,
whole year.
I mean,
6 months.
It doesn't get over the entire year. It does not get over like 60 degrees. Like,
Depends where you're at. Like,
That sounds nice.
I mean, Fairbanks will get up to 80, 90 in the middle of the state. It's crazy.
Yeah.
really?
That's where they
Yeah.
grow like the world record vegetable crops because the length of day is it's like 24 hours of daylight.
Well, they get a lot of rain too. Like I just saw that they
Yeah.
get a ton of rain. But yeah, anyway,
Anyway, but
going to Mexico.
Going to Mexico. So last episode we was in Mazatlan. We're going to jump about 8 hours farther south to Obregon, Mexico, and it's two totally different types of hunts. The Mazatlan, you take your wife and your beachfront property, and it's just absolutely gorgeous and you're done real quick. Obregon's exact opposite. They said don't bring your wives because you're going to live in a compound and we're not letting you out. I mean, there's no pool there or nothing. It's just a hunting destination, and they don't want you out and about on those streets. So as long as you're in their care, you're fine. But they're not just going to let you adventure and walk around on your own.
So no golf cart rides around cartel houses and stuff.
No.
Okay.
No.
So it's worse.
I'm pretty sure it's like big time cartel country where we were at. So,
Oof.
Yeah. It's like red flag, don't travel advisories down there. But
Hey,
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 For the
you
ducks.
got to take the risk.
you got to get the ducks.
Gotta get the
get the
duck. It's
duck.
all for the duck. So yeah.
What we do.
So we went
Sacrifices.
to yeah, that's what we have to do to put meat on the table. So we went to, I guess the Mexican mallard is the true reason I went. Some of the other guys went for other reasons, but the Mexican mallard was, in 2020, it became its own species of duck. It had always been classified as a subspecies of a mallard, and a lot of guys just considered them mottled ducks, like we have in Florida.
Yep.
DNA testing, all kind of stuff went on. They're like, nope, these are definitely their own
Own
species of duck. It's a Mexican mallard. So on the wall there is a drake. You can see the drake bill looks like the drake on our mallard, but the body looks like a hen.
Yeah.
So the hens look about like that. They're just a little lighter in color, and the bills are different,
Right.
a lot lighter. But yeah, that's a Mexican mallard. So that is the reason we went. In the global population of Mexican mallards, 98% live in Mexico, but there is 2% population that have moved up into southern Texas and southwest, maybe like Arizona or New Mexico, I think has a little bit, but there's a few little pockets. So it is possible to go get that bird. I don't know the outfitters or who's guiding. I'm sure somebody is. I'm sure somebody is. But yeah, you don't maybe have to go to Mexico to get it.
Right.
But we did. It was more fun.
Seems more authentic. If it's a
Definitely.
Mexican mallard.
I feel
Yeah,
like
know
I
what I'm
would
saying?
want to go where 98% of the birds.
It's in the name.
And what's funny is, as soon as that became its own species, the Mexican government put a tax of $100 a bird to export them.
Oof.
So the black brant and the Mexican mallard, every one you brought home was an extra $100 to get it through customs.
Now, why is that?
Moneymaker.
Why
That's
don't
the
they do that with
only
the
reason.
other species?
I don't know.
Probably because 98% of the population lives in Mexico.
Yeah, I think it's just because they know people are traveling there to get it, and they can just get money from them. So yeah. When you came back through customs, our birds were froze, and they were in just a big trash bag. It was clear, but really, really, really thick. And then these
I can't.
do what?
What did I do?
I'm looking at Matt the whole time. He's just like making these weird faces on the TV.
You just want to leave? I don't even
got?
know where I was at now. Oh, going through customs.
Got
there
them
you
in the
go.
clear
You
bag.
sure make it hard to concentrate here. But yeah, going through customs, like each duck had its own seal on it, saying you've pretty much already paid the tax. And then they wrap those bags in, look like caution tape, but it's red sticky tape. And then if that seal's broke, I guess you're in a lot of trouble, because once you get home, you have 10 days to get the birds to a USDA import facility. And then their government's checking with the facility to make sure the numbers line up, and you get there within the 10 days. And then they have to dip the birds for whatever they're dipping the birds for, the avian bird flu or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's basically just like, I think it's Coleman lantern fuel is what they told us they dip it in, that kills any of the viruses or anything on the birds. And then they repack them, and then they ship them on out to your taxidermist from there. So it's like a whole ordeal getting the birds home.
I mean, I'm assuming they're kept frozen.
The whole time, yeah.
I was going to say, because
We just take them on in carry-on bags. Just
onto your plane,
Yep.
just put them up over your
Yeah,
head.
if you just have a few birds, that's what we do. Yeah.
Really?
Now, if you have a whole bunch, we'll take like a Rubbermaid tote. Yeah.
Can you imagine just walking out of a plane with a Rubbermaid tote full of ducks? Just sitting on your
Got
lap.
dead birds.
Yeah. Yeah, going through the airport, I had the king eiders just in like a Yeti, soft-sided cooler. That was
Yeah.
my carry-on. And they scanned them, and the guy goes, "What are those?" And I said, "They're frozen ducks." And he's like, okay.
Cool.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Could you imagine the amount of wild things that they see though coming through there?
Yeah.
Surprised I didn't look at them.
Like we think
they didn't.
carrying a duck is kind of weird, but then the amount of stuff they probably see is just so much more.
The biggest trouble I ever had in the airport with a carry-on was I bought, on the very first Harlequin trip, I bought one of the decoys we gunned over.
Yeah.
And I said, can I buy one of those and take home? He's like, yeah. So he sold it to me. Put it in my carry-on. I got taken to the little back room and everything because when they x-rayed it, they thought something was inside the decoy. What ended up just being the like a little bit of a core, and there was some, I think it was lead, I think is what it was, like for the keel and stuff. And it blew their mind. They couldn't figure out what all was in there. Yeah. Yeah. That took a while. But yeah, we finally got through with that one. But yeah, when you're in Oregon, that is a totally different. That is the hunt you want to go on if you like pulling the trigger. I mean, you're going to kill a bunch of birds, and it's 2 hunts a day. It is kind of a grueling hunt. We were up at 3:30 every morning and eating breakfast. And it's an hour and a half, 2 hour drive sometimes to get to where you're going to duck hunt.
Okay.
They were in a drought, so we was having to go farther than they normally did sometimes. And then by lunchtime, they'll feed you lunch like in the field. They'd make burritos or something, just right on a fire. It's kind of cool. And then you're on to your afternoon hunt. And then they had a whole list of things you could pick to do in the afternoon. You could do dove hunting, quail hunting. You could go bass fishing. You could go duck hunting again, or you could go on what I called a canal shoot. The canal shoots are... That's a story in its own.
That's redneck, right?
Well, that is redneck. So what a canal shoot is they basically take like the back seat out of an old Buick or something, slide it in the back of a pickup truck, and you're just sitting there with your shotgun. And they had like magazine tube extensions, so some of these guns would hold 12 shots. And
This sounds insane.
Yeah, and you're just driving down the road shooting ducks as they jump out of the side ditches, out of the irrigation canals.
What the heck?
Yeah, the driver, he'll tell you, he'll like tap on the roof, and he'll be like, when he does that, it means there's birds coming up.
Yeah.
And then he slows down, and usually the birds would just come up. But sometimes they wouldn't, and he'd just sit there and bang on the roof, bam, 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 bam. And all the birds would just take off, and you're just blasting at them. And then they got another truck coming behind you, and these kids jump out. And they were running out and picking up the ducks, and they throw them in, and you just keep on going down the road to the next.
Organized jump shooting.
It is a blast.
Organized jump shooting.
And
That's
then
crazy.
So the first day we were there, we're going down the road. This was not a canal shoot. We're just going down the road. And we told him, we wanted some cinnamon teal while we were there. So we're going down the road, and he looks out in, we just call it like a little pothole right along the road, like a little flooded spot. And this is a road like our main, like 127 type, Route 35 type road.
State route road.
I mean, yeah, it's very nice paved roads. There's semis, there's school buses.
Yeah.
And he's like, teal, 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 teal. So we go over, and he goes, get your guns, get your guns. He goes, get in the back of the truck. So there's 3 of us in the back of the truck, and he just does this U-turn right in the road. And we get up there, and he's like, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. So we're shooting. We drop some birds. He gets out of the truck, and then he looks at my one buddy. He's like, you get in and drive. Go down to that lane down there and just back in. Of course, this is broken Spanish. You're trying to figure out what he's telling you. And so us 3 Americans are sitting there with our shotguns. Like,
some dude's
with no
car
guide or just some
Mexico.
random pickup truck in somebody's driveway, just sitting there, and it's like, man, this feels really weird. And he gets the birds and gets up to the road, and he's throwing all the shotgun shells into the side ditches as fast as he can chuck them in, get them off the road. And we're like, let's get out of here. So we go down and pick him up. He finishes the shotgun shells, and he jumps in, and we take off. And like it's just dead quiet in the truck. We're just riding.
There's no way this felt legal.
No, it felt so wrong. And I looked at him. We're just driving, and I looked at him, and I said, are we allowed to do that? And he goes, well, you're American. He goes, you bring lots of money to us, so they no bother you. They no bother you. He goes, and if the federales do come, I just get out and they go away.
What the heck?
Yeah. Yeah. Now the canal shoots.
So it definitely was not legal.
It did not sound like it on that road.
Not on that one.
Now the canal shoots, because we asked the head guide, and he spoke really, really good English. You could have good conversations with him back at the lodge at night.
Yeah.
And the canal shoots are 100% legal. You're on the back roads, like 2-track dirt roads and stuff. He said you're good to go. Nobody's ever going to say anything on that. But it got, like, I'm not going to use the word dangerous, but the drivers, they were like so excited to get to the ducks. They're flying at times. Well, the poor guys behind you eating all this dust.
They
they
have like big goggles on?
Well, they had like bandanas up and stuff, but they wasn't prepared for it. And luckily we was in the front truck. And then we hit this spot. I mean, it's that wide and that deep. It was a washout. And our guy went real easy into it.
They didn't see it.
Well, he went easy into it, popped out, got the back tires in and got stuck. Well, he had four-wheel drive, so he was able to get that engaged, and we was able to get out. Well, the guy behind us saw us get stuck. That driver did. So he doesn't warn the guys in the back of the truck, and he just guns it when he hits that thing, and he goes in that, boom. You know when the back tires hit, we're watching. Those guys' butts were above the cabs of the truck.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he took them for a ride.
Ouch.
Yep. But we shot a bunch of ducks on the canal chutes. It was fun.
Good night.
I know one of the flocks came up, and I was sitting on the far left, and they were just right there coming right over your head, and just boom, 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 killed 5 shots, 5 ducks. They were just right there. 5 for 5.
That canal shooting kind of reminds me so in South Dakota, we had, it's called road hunting, right? And I had just moved out
legal?
there. Just let me finish. and I had just moved out there, and they're like, hey, you want to do road hunting? I'm like, sounds illegal. But it's not. It's perfectly legal. So basically, you just get in your truck, okay, or vehicle, and you drive the back roads, right? Because there's pheasants everywhere. Your gun can't be loaded, obviously, when it's in the vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
And when you get out of the vehicle, you have to be so far off of the road. But the ditches are owned by the state. So you can hunt road ditches. Yeah, it's public. So
that's the same way there. The canals are owned by the federal government because they're irrigation canals. So he said anybody can do this.
Yeah. And when the first time we pulled up on this bird, at this point, I still have no clue if what we're doing. I know now, and I later found out that it was 100% legal. But at that time, it's just not something that I was used to doing. Mm-hmm. Like, it sounds terribly illegal to me.
Oh, yeah.
And so we pull up, and we see these roosters going down in the ditch. And just like slam on the brakes, and it's gravel roads, so like you're sliding, and these guys get out of the truck, and I'm like, what is happening?
It's like a military exercise.
Yeah, and he's like, are you gonna get out and shoot? I'm like, no, like I don't know what's going on right now. Yeah. and it's so popular in South Dakota, it's insane. A lot of out of state people do it just because if they can't find the birds on public, like if they're hunting public CRP. Then they'll travel the road ditches, and then they'll just look for roosters that way, which you can only shoot 2.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like you're eliminating the population by shooting them off the road, but yeah, it's just it's the same kind of deal. Like I did not feel like that was.
Yeah.
But
everything about it feels wrong, but it's fun.
Yeah, it is so much fun.
Yeah. Yep. Same way.
But it's just like this doesn't feel like we should be doing this, but 100% legal.
Yeah. And down here, the guy that drives your pickup truck, so the guy and we was with the same guy every morning. Everybody rode in the exact same trucks every day. Mm-hmm. Kept everything in order. I think our guy's name was Paco. And he spoke pretty good English. You could communicate with him. But then once he dropped you off, so he might drop me and Matt off, say. Mm-hmm. And when he drops you off, there might be 2 bird boys there. And this is 5 a.m. It's dark. And then he leaves. He's taking 2 more guys to another spot. So you get no instructions, like very little instructions. And then the bird boys are going to take you to the blind or do whatever. Mm-hmm. And they didn't speak much. So the first morning there, we get dropped off. And Paco says, he's like, there's a blind out. And it's pitch black. He's like, just walk straight out and you'll find a blind. Okay. So we got our gun and our bags with our shells. And no bird boys went out with us. We're just walking just through a marsh. And he's like, just walk till you find a blind. And it wasn't incredibly far, but far enough. We found it. And the other thing Paco said is he goes, remember, there's no law on sunset. If you see a black dot, shoot it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So you're sitting there, and you're in the most gorgeous duck hunting marsh you've ever seen. Just beautiful. And there's birds going over. You can see these black dots.
Yeah.
Looking back, if I go back again to this spot, I would have been shooting then.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been so much fun. Yeah. But we didn't because it didn't feel right, and it would be kind of hard to shoot. But
Yeah.
looking back, after it was all over, we're like, we should have been shooting those.
How do you know what you're shooting at?
You don't. I mean, they're you can tell they're ducks. They got the silhouette and stuff.
Yeah.
You just don't know what species. Yeah. And then we decided, like, okay, we better start shooting. And this would have been like probably 10 minutes before we would have ever been able, maybe 15 minutes before we'd have been able to in the States. And this group of birds just sets right in, but you could see them really well. And I was on the left, and the group came up. I shot 4 times, killed 4 birds, and they were all the Mexican mallards. Like first hunt, first day, got them. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Jeez, wow.
And he did say, he's like, don't get out of your blind, don't retrieve the ducks, just let them lie. They're not going anywhere. He's like, bird boys will be around. So we did get out once or twice because we wanted to see the bird, but he's like, just don't, and I know why, because there was so many birds, you just get caught outside.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we shot a pile of them out of that little marsh. Just unbelievable.
So they don't use dogs to retrieve birds. They use children or other
These
men.
were these were young. These were young guys. I would say maybe 18 or so. But on the dove hunt, there was younger, like 15-year-olds maybe out there doing that. But yeah, so we're just shooting away, and all of a sudden, just appears out of the marsh to our left is this dude walking, and he got to our blind, and he just walked around, made this huge lap, picks up all the ducks, put them in burlap bags, and he disappeared into the marsh, going to the next spot. I guess I don't know where he.
Wait, hold up.
Yeah, but that was his job, was to go.
So how does
around
he know?
He knew where the blinds were.
He's probably just come around at a certain time.
Yeah, he just popped around at a
But
certain
you had to have thought in your head, like, this dude
What's
just
happening
stole my
right now?
ducks. Like,
Well, no, they said there would be bird boys. The bird boys would pick your birds up. That's why he said, don't pick them up.
so they
Pocket
just
told us
go
that.
from blind to blind and pick up the birds.
Yeah, and then at the end, they made a big sweep and got them all.
So what's the deal with the ducks? Like, are you really even hiding that much? Or is there just that many that you can screw up a bunch and still get plenty of shots?
In Mazatlan, we didn't hide.
Right.
He just didn't hide. Orbegon, so when he said there was
Just no hunting pressure.
no hunting pressure.
Okay.
But when he told us there was a blind, what it was 2 pallets,
Yeah.
like seed corn pallets, like we would say, nailed or that was your floor. And then they just had like some brush stuck in the mud around it. And I think there were like 2 buckets to sit on if you wanted to sit down. That was it. I mean, it was crude, but it worked. So you could kind of hide.
Yeah.
If I ever went back, I would definitely take a Mojo like teal with me, and definitely take like your 4-in-1 whistle. That would have made,
Oh
my goodness, you could have killed so many more birds. Because I finally dug around, and I think in my pocket I had one of my dog training whistles. And if you held it just right, the pea wouldn't rattle, and you can make it peep like a pintail, and you could turn birds instantly.
Huh.
Yeah.
So they just, yeah.
Yep.
So what time of year are you down there?
They hunt. So we was there in,
Like February or?
gotta think. I think it was after our season was out. So yeah, we was in that second week of February. I think it was when.
And that's when birds respond the best to calls.
Yeah.
So that would make sense.
But they're just thick.
And nobody hunts but if you go down to pay to hunt.
Right. Yeah,
So there's no
that's what they
hunting
were saying.
pressure.
There was no locals. We covered that kind of on the last podcast. But
Just
yeah,
no hunting pressure.
just very, very, very little hunting pressure.
So how many ducks did you kill? Just ducks. Talking ducks. How many ducks alone did you kill on that trip down the Oregon?
I don't think nobody knows a true total.
Yeah.
We really don't know a total. I can tell you in 4 days, if you count the doves, we're well into over 1,000 birds easy in 4 days.
That's insane.
I
How's your
could-
shoulder feeling?
Yeah, it wasn't bad, really.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. So the one day he drops us off, Paco did, and he said, so we're on the ocean that day, and we're going to hunt bluebills. Mm-hmm. And he dropped 3 of us off, and he said, this is a bluebill spot. And he goes, the blind's right over there, and he's trying to light. It wasn't extremely far, maybe 80 yards.
Yeah.
And he's right on the point. Decoys are already set. I mean, they've already been out there ahead of you, so everything's ready. And he said, don't walk to the blind like this. Don't walk. He goes, go way out and around. And like I said, it's broken Spanish to English, and we got don't walk. Go out. So we did. We went way out, and it was shallow. Well, looking back, the reason was there's all kind of mangrove roots and stuff, and you would have just tripped and it'd have been crazy trying to get to the blind. So he was telling you to go way out and around. So we're sitting there, and we know it's going to be bluebills. Well, the one guy the afternoon before, the hunt he did in the afternoon was his dad and his brother. The three of them, they took them to a canal, and the bluebills were coming in for fresh water off the ocean. And I guess they just murdered the bluebills. I don't know how many they shot, but it sounded like a bunch. Mm-hmm. And he told us, he's like, we were shooting some bluebills, and he goes, I don't really want to shoot bluebills. He goes, I want some other ducks. You guys just shoot the bluebills. Like, okay. So me and this other guy just blasting away at these bluebills. In the States, you can shoot 2 a day, or at least part of the one part of the season, and then 2 the other part of the season.
It's like one for the first 15 days, and then the rest of the 45 is 2.
And you got to think, down there, they gave us absolutely no guidance, no direction, no. Here's the law. You can shoot 25 a day and stop. There was none of that. And there was no shell limits. It was just
free for all. Do you want?
Yeah, and it's like we didn't know how many we were supposed to shoot. So we're blazing away, and nobody's picking these birds up, and they're just floating off. So finally I said, we better go out and get them. So we're wading out, and we're gathering up our ducks, and these bluebills are decoying just beautiful, just right in your face. And we had shot a pile. I mean, we had a pile behind us. And I looked at my buddy and I said, how many more of these do we need to shoot? And he goes, I was thinking the same thing. So we just stopped shooting them.
Yeah.
And then Widge and some other stuff were coming in and we'd shooting at those. But it's just unreal, the amount of birds just flock. And the reason they were coming to right where we were at, it was salt water, but right beside us was a stream coming in. And that's fresh water. And they would swim up and get a drink out of that fresh water coming in there. So that's why they were there.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that bluebill hunt was just absolutely amazing.
I think it'd be cool to go there and do photography. I feel like it'd be really easy.
It'd be, oh my goodness. Like all the ducks we were killing her 20 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Sounds like a photography trip.
There. Yeah.
Did you take your camera when you went?
Yeah.
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 Did you take it on the hunts too, or?
Some of them. Yeah. Yep. But the action is so fast and furious. If you're there to pull the trigger, you don't have time. There's not.
Right.
Yeah. You'd have to just make yourself stop.
It's like I'd want to do a little of both.
Yeah. You'd have to make yourself stop.
So I wanted to I wanted to share a couple fun facts about the differences between the Mexican duck and the mallard. Okay. So one of them I thought was interesting is a Mexican duck will only lay between 4 to 9 eggs, to whereas the mallard will lay between 8 to 13. And then the other thing is here, it says in 1967, the United States Fish and Wildlife Service listed the Mexican duck as an endangered species, but removed it from the list in 1978. So it sounds like...
And they are thick as flies now.
Even though,
And they seemed like they were thick as flies when we were down there.
So even though they only lay 4 to 9 eggs, they still are booming, which I guess they don't get near the hunting pressure as a mallard does, right?
Near the hunting, not that.
98% of the population's in Mexico.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Nor the bad weather.
Yeah. So more, even though, our mallards may lay more eggs, more Mexican ducks may survive.
Yeah, they're not fighting for survival when it's 0 degrees out.
Yeah. And I wonder what their kind of predators they have. We had just about anything in the water. I mean, like a catfish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wonder
anything.
Their predators and what
I'd say have. About the same, probably, as far as water and avian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So when we shot that first morning when we was in that marsh, I was just talking about, that's where I mounted that bird out of that hunt. And the guide told me, he's like, when we go to the valley, like the canal chutes, he goes, ducks are much bigger. And they were. But I wanted the duck out of the marsh. Just
right.
It's more of a true duck hunt than the canal chute. I just wanted to remember that when I saw the bird.
Right.
But he was right. The ones in the valley, they're more an agriculture environment, like our mallards. They're eating a lot of grain. And you can just tell they're a bigger, hardier bird.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Very cool.
What do they eat? What grain they eating? It's like rice, or what?
I don't know that they grow rice. It was
I don't know,
like a lot of sorghum type stuff.
Oh, okay.
We saw sorghum fields, and I'm guessing small seed.
Yeah,
but I'm not real sure.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's so much fun on this hunt, so you're going to get to hunt ducks 4 mornings in a row. Well, we did three duck hunts in a row, and then the one day we did black brant on the ocean.
Oh yeah.
But in the afternoon, you can pick, like I said, you can duck hunt, or you can, and I did dove hunting because I just, me and doves, I love doves
Yeah.
Love to shoot doves. So we were going the first day of the dove hunt. I think pretty much everybody in the group did that. And you're just driving through, it looked like Texas scrub brush. And every so often they would stop and they'd let somebody out and there'd be a bird boy there. And there was this container, or not like a hanger, like a rack. And it had like this big white feed sack hanging from it. Mm-hmm. I'm like thinking to myself, I wonder what that's for, you know? And every station had that. When I was one of the last stations, next to the last. And I finally asked the driver, like, what are those bags for? And he goes, well, that's where we put the doves in. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So I looked at my buddy and I said, I got a new goal in life. I'm going to fill one of those bags.
Bag.
So that was the goal, but we didn't reach the goal. We filled about half a bag. But it was just nonstop, like for 3 hours probably, of just nonstop dove hunting. Just first came the white wings, which are bigger than our mourning doves. And then once that flight was pretty much over, then it came into the mourning doves, and they were just a lot faster. And then you'd get the Eurasian dove mixed in, Eurasian collared dove, and they're like the size of a pigeon. But, yeah, I don't know how many doves we
So
killed
you're
that
shooting
day,
3 different species of dove from the
on
same
one
blind.
hunt. Yeah.
On the same hunt.
Yep. Yep. And it's fast enough shooting. You're not worried about your shotgun shells. The kid's just dumping the next box in your shell belt because you're going through them that fast. And on a hot hunt, they'll trade guns out because your guns are getting hot. You know, if you're really into them.
So did you guys take your own guns, or did they
One guy did. We didn't.
provide them?
Yeah, they're brand new, like Benellis and Berettas. So
Oh, really?
yeah, that's what I would have took anyways if I was going. So
Right.
why worry about customs and? It was like $100 or something for the gun import fee plus your luggage each way. So I just didn't feel it necessary, and it wasn't.
Could you imagine shooting so much that you have to have your gun switched out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, here I'm like, I got a box, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 15 and out here. You're done after 15, Jeff.
Definitely outside the norm down there.
Yeah. But the dove population is just incredible. Just, yeah, can't describe the dove population. And they do that down there. Guys come in just to dove hunt twice a day. They'll book a whole week just to dove hunt. So I know, I mean, there's guys that go, their goal is to kill like 1,000 doves in a day. I know guys that have done that. So there's a population that will withstand that.
That is crazy.
It's pretty crazy. That's a lot. That's a lot.
The limiting factor is how much you want to spend on shotgun shells that week.
Yeah, that would get expensive.
Yeah, it gets expensive fast.
That
When
would
my hit
get
rate's like
expensive.
10%,
You know,
and
you-
I'm trying to shoot 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, think of that. If your goal's 1,000 birds, and even if you
How many
hit,
shells?
even if you hit 50%, which you're probably not, that's 2,000 shells
Yeah. That's
times
ridiculous.
$20 a box.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you could rack up. Well, that would be more than that. $1,000 a day in ammo. It'd be more
Yeah.
than that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the amount of birds
Right.
that you can kill in Mexico. And before we go to Florida, you and I had talked about some numbers that you had ran,
Right.
last night. And when you look at the amount of birds that you are able to kill on those trips, somebody from the outside may think, wow, you're diminishing
You
the
are
population.
raping the population.
Like,
yeah.
it's just, how are there still so many birds? And you kind of want to go over the information that you were able to find.
Yep. And part of this came from our outfitter. Like, we asked him some of these questions too, and it lines up with what I did my research on. But so each outfitter, they have biologists that come into their hunting area. So this guy said he had 350,000 acres to hunt. And this biologist, they go around and they do studies, just like our biologists do, of aerial surveys. They physically walk in and they're looking.
Yeah.
How many birds does that area hold? How many can they take out without hurting the population? And then they give the outfitter that number. You cannot exceed, whatever that number is, you cannot exceed 10,000 ducks this year, 20, whatever, I don't know the number, but they have that number. And then it's their job to regulate what the hunters take. They can say, okay, we got 100 hunters coming this year.
Yeah.
So every hunter can shoot 25 ducks and we'll be under our
Right.
quota. That's
Yeah.
how they come up with this. So what we was talking about, so you take that 350,000 acre area. If you was to put that area, like in Arkansas, we'll say, And this comes back from a podcast that was on, I believe, Mossy Gamekeeper, one of those. They had a biologist on, and he was doing duck population studies, and they were doing the same thing you do with your duck with the backpack. And what their study was is they wanted to see how waterfowl responded to hunting pressure. Mm-hmm. And then when they were up doing their aerial surveys, counting ducks, he's like, hunters are absolutely terrible at building duck blinds. He's like, you can spot them for miles away. He's like, he goes, actually, when you're in the air looking at these things, it's a wonder there's ever a duck even gets killed. Yeah. That's how bad these blinds look. Well, so during this study, they just started marking all these duck blinds, where they were at. And it came up that there was a duck blind every 70 acres.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Because I farm, so every 80-acre field I have would be a duck blind in the middle of it. So when you look at that, and then you take our outfitter had 350,000 acres, and there's 8 guys in that 350,000 acres. Mm-hmm. So that's be the equivalent of 4 duck blinds working that day. So that's 88,000 acres per duck blind that's active in his ground.
Yeah.
So if we each shoot 25 ducks, that's 200 ducks we're just taking off of 350,000 acres. Right. So 200 ducks out of 350,000. If you go back to the one blind per 70 acres, mm-hmm. there would be 5,000 duck blinds on that 350,000 area.
That's insane.
5,000 duck blinds. So say those duck blinds averaged 1 duck a day.
Yeah.
That's 5,000 ducks.
Yeah.
Off what we're taking 200 ducks.
Right.
Even though we're shooting that many more, you know. Or say there's a half a duck taken off all those duck blinds a day.
Mm-hmm. It's still an incredible
You're still at
difference.
2,500 ducks.
So crazy difference.
Yeah. And a lot of those blinds aren't getting hunted every day, but one doesn't get hunted, one shoots 1 shoots 5, one shoots 20.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know what the number would be, but I just used 1.
Right.
And if you use
it's
one,
a safe number, I think.
if you use 1 duck per duck blind, that gets you to Mexico. In the same acreage, we're shooting 4% of the ducks that's getting shot up here, if you do the math.
Right. Yeah.
So, and all the Mexican
things in the perspective a bit.
Right. Yeah.
All the Mexican outfitters, everyone I've ever talked to says, or if you listen to them, mm-hmm. a lot of them are using like 1 and 2 and 3% as their numbers. So you can say it's a single digit.
Right.
And what our guy said is the amount of ducks they allowed us to kill, we are in the single percentages of that number. So if the state says you can kill, I'm just going to make up a number because it's easy math. If you can kill 100,000 ducks, they only kill 3,000 of those 100,000. He said it's down in like the single digits. There's that many birds down there versus the hunters. And the doves were the same way. Or it's even less.
Right.
The doves are.
I mean, I kind of wonder too, how much local hunting is getting done, which we had talked about on the last podcast. There's not very much.
In Mexico, it's very... I'm sure somebody does. But
right, but it's so
the
expensive
shotgun shells
for
are
them
so expensive
to do it. And that helps too, right? Because you've got all of these birds and people can't afford to hunt them.
I mean, when you're making $2 a day, you can't even afford the ammo.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that, like, because on the last podcast we said they was making like $1 a day. Mm-hmm. Even if that guy was, I got to thinking they can't survive on that. Maybe they can. I don't know. But like I said, it's broken Spanish.
Yeah.
Or broken English. I don't speak Spanish. So maybe even if he thought an hourly rate, that's still only $8 an hour or $8 a day.
Right.
That's still not going to buy a box of shotgun shells for 3 days of work. So they're just not hunting it.
Yeah.
They're just not doing
can't do it.
Yeah. And the other, talking about money, one of the really cool conversations I had with the main guy that owned this whole operation the one night, one thing, we went into this fishing village. And like I said, when you're driving an hour and a half, 2 hours into the real deal Mexico, you see a lot of things that open your eyes. And we go into this fishing village, and their houses had no windows. Some didn't even have doors, and there's kids they're in poverty, right?
Yeah, right.
But I'm just looking out the window, and there's this little girl, and she's walking down the street, and she has like pristine, knee-high white socks on it, really clean, a skirt, and a bright white top, like a school uniform. And we're going by, and I'm just going, that just doesn't fit in. And then we saw a couple other kids dressed the same way. I guess I didn't think much more about it. We kept on. Your mind goes to other things. Well, that night at the dinner table, I asked him about that. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's your money at work right there. Like, how's that? And he goes, did you see the school? And I said, I did. Because when we went in, you could tell it's, and even in Spanish, you could tell it was elementary school. Or
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
But it was like a one-room schoolhouse. But it was gorgeous, like brand new brick, pretty nice new windows and everything. And he's like, anytime we hunt in these villages, they expect money. We have to pay them to come in and get that area to hunt. So he's like, we built that schoolhouse. And then we provide the uniforms for the kids. And then we also have bought iPads and this for the community. And then he talked about another village, how they put stoplights up for them, and they've done this. And he was going through all the things the $100 did for these people. So those people want you to come and hunt in their village.
Right.
Because you mean money. So that's why they don't really mess with you.
And
It's
that's to put things into perspective. You are going there to kill ducks. You're going there to shoot ducks.
Yep.
But to them, it's not just a duck hunt. Like, you're building their town.
They have to have it. They need it.
Yeah, they have to have duck hunters.
Yeah.
That's just wild.
I don't know if they have to, but yeah, it definitely helps them.
Well, I don't think
You
at
know-
$8 a day anyways building a new schoolhouse. you
Right,
know what I mean?
Right,
Yeah, it's
right.
So
Yeah, and then in that area that we was, I forget the name of the airport we flew into, but it was a big jet, like 737. I mean, if there, I don't know, 150, 200 people on it, 80% of the people on that plane were American hunters going in to hunt. And very few of us on the plane were duck hunters. Most of the guys going in were going for the trophy coos and mule deer. They're just massive animals down there. But yeah, the hunting industry is huge. So
that's crazy.
yep. And I would say the mule deer and the coos bring in more money than the ducks by far. It's a lot bigger industry. I mean, guys
Oh,
are
yeah,
going
I
down,
could assume.
guys are going down to, they'll drop $10,000-$15,000 to
Yeah.
shoot a trophy buck.
Yeah.
In fact, we got on the plane and I was sitting by the window and the guy came in and sat to the seat right beside me, and I'm minding my own business and he kind of is too. And finally he just kind of looked at me and he's like, where are you hunting? So I told him the outfitter and we were hunting ducks, and he's like, oh, you could just tell like, oh, ducks,
Right. Yeah.
And I said, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm going after coos deer. I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, I was just down here. We hunted like 10 days. And he's like, I saw this. He's like, the biggest buck I've ever seen in my life. And he's like, I would have just kept hunting, but I had business at home. I had to get home for a few days. And I told the outfitter I'd be on the plane coming right back. So he'd spent 10 days there, went home for a few days, got on the plane and was heading right back just to chase this buck. So he's probably dropping 30 grand just
Good
trying to
night.
kill that one deer, So it's a different world, like what people spend
Oh, yeah.
to hunt. But
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of money comes in down there from that.
I am concerned that mower is just sitting in one spot.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a helicopter, but yeah,
Oh, pretty sure
know
someone's
what-
out there mowing a pond.
I don't know what's going on.
All right, let's head over to Florida.
Let's go. Yep.
Take us there.
So Florida, that hunt, we strictly booked. Well, I shouldn't say that. The main purpose was the fulvous, just the top bird right there. At the same time, I also needed the black belly. Those are not hard to come by. You can go anywhere in the South and get a hold of one of those. The other duck we needed on the trip, I didn't bring it, was the mottled duck, and it just looks a lot like our Mexican mallard. So, yeah, the fulvous is the tricky bird to get. So, if you get on the internet and just Google fulvous duck hunting guides, it's going to come up a bunch of people all over Florida. But the problem with that is they're selling the hunt, and they're just going to take you out, set you in a blind, and hope one comes by.
Right.
And I know I talked to quite a few people before we did the hunt, and everybody's like, we've been there multiple times. You might not even see one. So then I started doing some research, and I came across I reached out to some people I knew that lived down there or hunted in the area, and I said, who would you go with? And this one guy, he said, I would only use this guy, but he will only take you if you're recommended. Like, he's not really a guide. He's just, but if a good buddy recommends somebody, he'll take you. And he's like, let me talk to him. So he did, and the guy agreed to take me and Brad. And he walked us through the whole process because it's so complicated down there. You're hunting all these little different zones and wildlife management areas. They're actually called where we was at is called stormwater treatment areas. and they're building these huge impoundments, and they're 10,000 to 20,000 acres, and it's actually used to filter out the fertilizer, the phosphates.
Okay.
And by doing that, it's just made these amazing duck hunting marshes and opportunities. So you have to apply. There's like phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3. You got the time of year. You got to pick your time of year, and then you got to pick if you want unit 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6.
Right.
And then they only draw like 10 hunts in the morning and 10 hunts in the afternoon. So this guy was walking through how to do all this, and he's like, I think it was 5. He's like, you got to get STA number 5. If you can get that drawn in the days you're here, we'll kill a fulvous. And so he puts in for it. I did. Brad did. And Brad got drawn for Sunday afternoon in Area 5. And when you get drawn, you can take 2 people with you. So us 3 could go in. So the first 2 days, we hunted just good old public walk-in hunting grounds. Just pull a kayak with your decoys and paddle or walk.
Yeah.
And I have to give credit to the guys in Florida. I would never work that hard for ducks. I mean, they are flat working for these ducks. I mean, you might walk a mile. It's just crazy.
And alligator-infested water.
Yes.
Nah.
They're swamped in mud and
100%.
Nah.
And the heat and the mosquitoes and just, it's just brutal.
Ain't no way.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Nah.
Because Brad and I, we were just talking on the phone, and we're like, we remember driving around, you would see big gators just laying up on these impoundments, and you're going out in there. It's like,
See, I can deal with mosquitoes because I can swat them. I don't think I'm swatting no gator. No, sir.
So the guy we took us, he's like, they're lethargic this time of year. Well, we was sweating, But he's like, that gator does not see you as food. He sees fish and birds as food. And he's like, he's going to get out of your way. He's like, the only way you're going to get bit, he's like, even if you accidentally walk into him.
You good?
Yeah. He's like, even if you accidentally walk into that gator, he's not biting you unless you hit him, like walk into his head or the front third of him. If you hit his tail, he might spin around, but he can't reach it. But he's like, you just don't ever hear of people having troubles with it. And
what about the snakes?
I don't know. Never saw one. I'm sure they're there. Never saw one. But, so yeah, we the day we did our fulvous hunt that afternoon, it was pretty cool. So you show up. We had our permit. But I bet, so that means there was like 10 of us was able to get, so there's 30 people able to go hunt. And then if somebody doesn't show up to claim their spot, then they have a standby line. And everybody can put their name in. They just basically draw out of a hat and you get that spot. But this is like, it's 70 degrees, 75 degrees in the afternoon. It's hot. And there's like 100-some people show up just for a chance to maybe get drawn. And they don't even know if all 10 people is going to show up. And it was like that every morning and every evening. The amount of people that show up for the draws are just crazy. Wow. It's like, I just couldn't imagine being that desperate to need a spot to hunt.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then once you get in, so of course we show up, and then so Brad's name was in the hat. When they draw your name, whether it's first or last, everybody can hunt in this 17,000 acre. It's all 30 people. You're in this 17,000 acre impoundment. You can hunt anywhere in there you want. Well, there might be a few little zones that are off limits. Yeah. So you can hunt anywhere that's legal to hunt in there. And the only real rule is when they draw your name, you walk up and you have to tell them where you're going to park. And there might have been, I don't even know, there might have been 60 parking spots through this whole thing. There's roads. And the reason you have to tell them where you're parking is, I think it's just for safety. Like, because you got to check out that night when you come out, and they count your ducks. They log the species. They log that by where you hunted, that number, and they're keeping duck populations this way.
Right.
And I think if things go south and you don't come out, they at least know where to start looking. I think that's what the reason you have to park there. So the guy we was with, he told Brad, he's like, he gave him a list. He's like, you want to park at one of these 3 or 4 numbers because all the fulvous are going to hang up in this area. So Brad gets called, and he gives him the number we're going to park. So we go in. Everybody else goes in, parks, and they're like, get out the hunt right away. And our guy's like, no, we're not doing that. He's like, we're staying on the roads. And he's like, we're just going to keep driving like a circle around this block. And I want to physically lay eyes on fulvous ducks going down in, and then we know where they're at. That's how we're going to hunt these things. Like, that makes sense. So We just start driving. And I forget, it's like if you went in at 1, you can hunt till, say, 6. So we're driving in circles for like 2 hours.
Jeez.
And you're seeing ducks, but you're not seeing fulvous. And it's finally like 3 o'clock.
Getting nervous?
Yeah, and he's going, okay, it's time now. We just got to go set up and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And he no more than says that, and I went, what are those? And he looks, he's like, fulvous. And he's like slamming on the brakes. And there's a group of them just setting in, just perfect. So we're pulling up Google Earth and on X, and we're looking at this, because I think the roads were a mile by mile. And we're looking about where they went down. Well, on Google Earth, you could see a hole way out in there, like that's where they're in. So the park where he needed to park was like, it was a long ways off from where because you could hunt anywhere, but you're supposed to park at that number, you know?
Yeah.
And so he dropped Brad and I off with the kayaks and the decoys, and then he went and parked, and he ran all the way back to us. And then you got a kayak across a really deep canal, and that's where we saw the gator just laying up on the edges, so you go through that. Well, then once you get across the canal, now you're just in like knee-deep water. But it is like the Amazon jungle. It's just crazy, like how thick, and it's way over your head. And if Brad got within 10 feet ahead of me, I couldn't see him. It was that thick, and you're just parting it and
In
walking.
knee-deep water.
Yeah, just like it's just true swamp.
Anacondas anywhere.
Could have been.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know what. I don't know what's in there.
Nah,
And so
not for me, bud.
So you're just walking, and all of a sudden you're stopping, and you're looking at your phone. You're the blue dot, and it's like, well, got to go another like 600 yards or whatever it is. So you just keep walking, and then once we got really close to that spot, the guy goes, "Okay, I'm staying," because we was trying to be quiet, but you can't. There's no way to be quiet. And he goes, "I'm staying back." He's like, "Take your binoculars, and you guys just make your way real easy to the edge, and once you get closer to the edge, you'll start seeing clear water ahead of you." And he's like, "Just start glassing, and if you see one," he's like, "That's up to you, but I wouldn't be afraid to water swat it off a log, because these things are hard to come by." So we did. We kept getting closer, and we're glassing closer and glassing. Finally, we're all the way up to the edge of this thing, and then now we're out in the thing. There's not a duck anywhere. I mean, it's just barren. I'm like, guess we're not in the right spot. So he comes up, and he's like, "I don't get it." So we're looking at Google Earth, and we're like, man, they got to be right here, because that was the only hole. Well, then all of a sudden we start hearing all this peeping, like 100 yards to our left. And he's like, that's whistlers. But he also said the black-bellies and the fulvous don't like each other, and they don't usually hang together. He's like, they'll keep their distance. So he said they were black-bellies is what he heard peeping. So we're thinking, okay, there must just be another little opening over there that doesn't show up on the maps.
Yeah.
I don't know if they heard us talking or what, but all of a sudden that little hole erupted, and there was just ducks coming up everywhere. And the big flock of black bellies come right over us, and Brad and I think we got 5 out of the flock. And so that's that one. And we're reloading, and the guy, he goes, fulvous, fulvous, fulvous. There's 2 of them, about 30 yards, just flying, go right in front of us. And I think I was on the right, Brad was on the left. I shot at the right one and just folded it. And Brad shot 3 times and missed his. And he's a good shot. He doesn't miss.
Wait, so you shot both of those birds at the same time?
Like minutes apart.
Really?
Minutes apart. Yeah. And like I said, they just came off that hole. They were just flying by. They weren't decoying. They were just flying by. So Brad missed his, and he's like all down in the dumps. And the guy who was with, he's like, well, they obviously, and then we watched them. They all flew off, and we saw a bunch more fulvous come up out of there. And he's like, these things don't usually sit together, but I'm glad they are. And we watched them fly off, and they went a long way and down into another hole, quarter mile away. So we went over to where they were, and it was just this gorgeous little marsh, just a little hole, maybe the size of this shop. And he threw out 6 decoys, and we're standing there, and these fulvous started trickling back. All the ducks did.
Okay.
And they just would not decoy. They just knew something wasn't right. And then finally, Brad, there was a pair, or maybe there was a little group. They swung and was coming right at us. And this is getting right towards shooting time. And he pulled up and he shot it and he hit it. And I got it on film. I'm like, congratulations. And he's like, I don't know. And the duck slams behind us and really thick stuff. And the guy takes off and I take off. And the head was up on the duck as it was coming down. So it wasn't dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Knew it was alive.
Yeah. And long story short, we never found it. And we're like reaching our hands, like you said, snakes and stuff. That dude we was with, like reaching under in, just pulling
no way.
handfuls of stuff out, just trying to
No.
find. He's like, these ducks will bury in here. We just got to start.
No.
Yeah, it's just, and he's like going to town. The other thing he told us is we have to be back to the road and in the truck before it starts getting dark. He said the mosquitoes, you've never experienced them like this unit has. So that's in the back of our mind. Well, we're looking for this duck because that's it. This is the last day. And it's getting dark fast. So I think one of us went and got the decoys, and this guy just kept looking. Now it's getting dark. And he's like, we got to get out of here. So we left it. We never did get the duck. And we made our way, because we had a long walk. We made our way back, and we get back to the road. And I'm not kidding you. The mosquitoes were so bad. We was waving our arms like this just as fast as you could, and it felt like sand hitting both sides of your arm. There was that many mosquitoes.
Good night.
And the guy looks at his gun case. It's empty. He's like, I just lost my gun. What do you mean? He's like, it's gone.
How do you not feel that?
I don't know. Well, I mean, we was hoofing it, and it's just, the stuff's hitting you, and
Yeah.
it's just all kind of, and he's like, it had to be when we had to go under like this tree. I mean, you almost had to get on your knees to get under this. He's like, I had to fell out then. Which luckily wasn't that far in, maybe a couple 100 yards. So he had to get the kayak, go back across, and then he had to follow the
Yeah,
trail.
but a couple 100 yards dealing with that
Right.
makes it feel like.
So now
Right.
me and Brad are by ourselves in the dark on this road. And we were running up and down the road doing this, just trying to keep the mosquitoes off of you. And it still wasn't hardly helping. And we was full of bug dope and all kind of stuff. He found his gun. It was right where he went under the tree.
Yeah.
All we could do was run back and forth, and that dude ran all the way back to the truck, gets it. And when this goes on for probably a half hour, we're just getting ate alive by these things. We tied the kayaks to the top, and he told us, don't open the truck doors. And so the last instruction he said was, everybody get to the doors. You open your door, you jump in and shut that door as fast as you can, because we don't want this thing full of
Right,
mosquitoes, So he's like, ready, go, open, in, shut. In that amount of time, there were hundreds, and I mean hundreds of mosquitoes in that truck. Like the windows were just solid mosquitoes.
Jeez.
I've never seen anything like it.
So you just take off, roll the windows down, and hope
That's
they all
what we
fly.
did. Just rolled them down and took off.
Sheesh.
But I've never experienced mosquitoes like that, and I never want to.
Wow.
So yeah,
Not for
That's
me,
insane.
bud.
yeah. The first couple of days of the hunt, we just doing walk-in stuff. We shot blue-winged teals. We killed our mottled ducks right off the bat. You're allowed one a day, and we shot those right away. But yeah, that's pretty much the Florida hunt.
Wow.
It's I don't know. Brad wants to go back to get his Fulvous sometime.
You're just like, I don't know.
I signed you up. You're going with him.
Yeah, right. Oh, I don't know.
Could
I'd
you
probably
imagine
go.
just tagging along as a photographer and how much cool stuff you could
But
photograph?
Oh, yeah.
but the thing is, if we would have been out of there by sunset, like if,
wouldn't have
if,
been
if
that
Brad,
bad.
if he would have killed his duck dead,
Yeah.
and we'd have got out of there, you wouldn't have experienced it either. But
I don't think I would want to experience that.
Good story.
It makes a good story. Yeah. Like he said, if you'd have been out of there, and then when you go out, you have to check out of the place, and they got this like biology student, and he's looking at all your ducks and writing it down. He's sitting out. They don't give him. He's just out in this mess fighting the mosquitoes,
So
trying
he
to
don't
look at
care
all these
what
ducks.
you got. He's just checking things
He's just
off.
checking boxes. Now he did look it all over, and he did his job. But I couldn't imagine sitting out there every night doing that.
It's terrible.
Nah, you couldn't pay me enough.
Yep.
Well,
What do you have? Do you have enough for a part 3 of this?
oh, buddy.
Oh, buddy.
We're only like 8 species in.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of them are from around here.
Yeah.
No.
Those are boring.
We got to talk about it.
Talk about the boring
Talk
stuff.
about it.
Talk about it. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for
Yep.
this one. And then we'll bring Eric back on for part 3 here very soon. I kind of want to keep these kind of, within maybe not the next episode unless we
Not a year apart.
Yeah, not too
not a
spaced
year
out.
apart. Yeah. But we'll keep them somewhat close together here. So, Matt, do you have anything before we close this up? We'll let Eric finish us off here since
That's all I got.
that's it. I cannot wait to watch this video and see how many faces you make of it. Because I'm looking over here at you and you're like,
He's not talking much, so he doesn't know what to do.
I don't know what to do with myself.
Eric, what you got, buddy? You got anything else you want to talk about? Your mouth's probably pretty dry. You've been talking for a while.
Let me look. Make sure we didn't hit anything.
Better check.
Man, it looks like we hit it.
We got it.
Looks like we hit it.
We rolled.
Yeah, boy.
I think we're good.
All right, guys.
well.
We appreciate you guys tuning into this. Do not forget to please go over to the Last Flight Show's Instagram and Facebook. Give us a like and follow on those. And then
Subscribe to the YouTube.
for sure, subscribe there. We do have a giveaway going on right now.
Oh yeah, we do.
How
about that? Forgot about that.
How about that? So we've had some people ask how you get entered in the giveaway. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to lastflightcalls.com. Well, actually, Last Flight Calls and Gear.
Lastflightgear.com. I don't even know the website.
Gear.com. And what you'll do, there's a tab there, right? That's that just it literally says giveaway. And then once you click on that tab, you
can't miss it.
Nope. And it will literally tell you everything that you need to do to get involved in this. But Matt, what are we giving away over here?
Giving away your choice of duck and goose call and lanyard. So
Yeah.
could be up to a $360 value.
Yep.
Can I enter?
Depending on what you
Am I
pick.
allowed to enter?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's got to follow the rules. It's got to follow the rules.
All right, guys.
That's
Make sure you're checking out our socials. Make sure you get in on the giveaway, and that's going to do it for this episode. We appreciate you guys tuning in, watching, listening, and we will see you on the next one. See you.